And I'm glad to be here. This is exciting for me. Hopefully we'll have a lot of fun today. Before we kind of jump in, I'll just tell you very quickly a little bit about myself. So my background, like Janet said, is in Southern Africa, and I spent about 5 years living in that part of the world. So down here, for those of you who are vigorously studying your map of the continent, right at the border of South Africa and Lesotho is where I was residing, and beautiful place, not unlike Salt Lake City. I lived on the side of that mountain in that little cabin there, and this was outside the front door of our house, so pretty cool experiences there. What I did in terms of my own work was wanting to study the art of the South Sotho culture, which is not in any of the AP stuff, but at the time no one had ever done any kind of extensive work on that particular culture. So I did a lot of work in museums and kind of putting together a catalog of what is the stuff that these people have made over the past several hundred years, and then worked with kings and with artists and oral historians in order to kind of get the context of what is this stuff, the why. And when I'm teaching art history, I always tell anyone who's in the room that the most important question is why when it comes to the history of art, and especially when we're talking about non-Western or the arts of Africa, where context is so key to getting a really nuanced understanding about what it is that we see visually. So basically, I tried to take those visual elements from working with objects and then link the idea of context, the why, by getting South Sotho perspectives about their own art and how they wish to be represented. I also did a lot of documenting artistic processes. I really like things like looking at continuity and change over time, and so I made some films with mural artists and with ceramic artists, and because I am at CSU, I did some work on beer making as well, which does happen to engage with the visual arts. We probably won't get into that today. And then I also had the absolute thrill and pleasure to attend initiation for young men and young women. And again, seeing the art in context. And there's so much when we're talking about objects, because what we're going to see today, we're going to be looking at images. There are some nice contextual shots that help us to kind of place the art, but by and large, when we're talking about African art, especially here in the U.S., we're seeing it in a museum setting, and you only get a piece of the pie with that. You don't get the sight, you don't get the smell, you don't get the movement. There's so much that we miss when an object's taken out of its context. So I'm hoping that as we move through the object list today, that we'll be able to kind of dive into to the context, as well as looking at a lot of the formal elements there. Had my family with me there and got to do a lot of really fun stuff. So in a nutshell, that's who I am, that's the work that I do, and as was mentioned, I have done some work with AP. I was a reader, was that 2 years ago, with Cheryl, and have done a little bit of dabbling with the test writing as they're developing the new curriculum. So hopefully I'll be able to bring maybe a few insights in as to what might be worth thinking about or considering with these objects in terms of the test, okay? So